Coming up on this Friday edition of Daybreak, Mark Lippert, Washington's new ambassador to Seoul, arrives in Korea to officially take up his new post. At just 41 years old, he becomes the youngest ever US ambassador to the country. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe says North Korea has agreed to deepen its probe into the fate of Japanese nationals kidnapped by Pyongyang in the 1970s and 80s. Plus, as the situation worsens in Sierra Leone, the World Bank gives $100 million to support the deployment of more health workers to Ebola-stricken West Africa. Daybreak begins now. Hello, and thanks for joining us. To our viewers around the world, it's 6 a.m. on Friday, October 31st, here in Seoul. I'm Mark Broom, and you're tuned in to Daybreak. Our top story this morning, the new US ambassador to South Korea has officially taken up his post after arriving in the country on Thursday. 41-year-old Mark Lippert has vowed to work closely with the South Korean government to deal with North Korea and bolster three-way ties between Washington, Seoul and Tokyo. Kwon So-ah reports.
Mark Lippert, Washington's newly appointed ambassador to South Korea, is now in Korea and held his first press briefing upon arrival Thursday evening.
안녕하십니까 여러분, Mark Lippert입니다. 반갑습니다. 주한 미국 대사로 한국에서 일하게 되어서 아주 기쁩니다.
Speaking to reporters, he called the U.S.-South Korea relationship a very special one based on common values and interests. The 41-year-old and youngest ever U.S. ambassador to Seoul was nominated in May and confirmed last month to replace Sung Kim, whose three-year term ended this year. At the age of 32, Lippert became the foreign policy advisor to then-Senator Barack Obama and is considered to be one of President Obama's closest aides. Lippert's last post was Chief of Staff to Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel. Lippert is expected to focus on bolstering trilateral cooperation between the U.S., Korea, and Japan. Pentagon officials said he believes that security cooperation and historical disputes should be approached separately. Lippert is scheduled to begin his first official workday by presenting his credentials to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs Friday and meeting with Korea's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
Now, it's been a while, but the leaders of Korea's rival political parties have agreed on something. The Korean economy stands at a precarious juncture. Take one route and the economic recovery could pick up a head of steam, take the other way and slip back into recession. And while they agree on that, they have very different ideas about how to get the economy heading down the right path. Our Ji Myung-gil has more.
Speaking before a full assembly, the chairman of the ruling Saenuri Party, Kim Moo-sung, said Korea's economy was slipping into recession.
South Korea's economic growth rate for each quarter has been below the 1% level, which signals that the economy is not recovering. The economy expanded just 0.9% in the third quarter.
Kim proposed a three-headed attack to address the problems head-on. He called on labor, management, and the government to work together to restrain wage increases, to endorse flexibility in the labor market, and to reform pension programs. The ruling party leader also called for deregulation and promoting the service industry to create new jobs and find new growth engines. However, the interim leader of the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy took a different tack.
The world is implementing policies to reduce government debt and stimulate consumer-based growth. At first, consumer-based growth was the government's first priority, but now the main focus is on expanding investment.
Moon said fueling growth means increasing household earnings that can lead to more consumer spending. He opposed giving tax breaks for conglomerates, saying they only hold on to their cash reserves, which cuts the money flow to households and in turn weakens consumption. While both party leaders differ on the details, they do agree that the domestic economy is reaching a crossroads that will determine whether it makes a leap forward or falls into recession. Regarding North Korean affairs, the interim chief of the opposition stressed the need for dialogue and called for lifting sanctions on the North, claiming it was the biggest obstacle to improving inter-Korean ties. The ruling party chief made no mention of North Korean matters in his speech. Kim Young-gyun, Arirang News.
Now, South Korea's proposed date for high-level inter-Korean talks came and went on Thursday, with officials from both sides staying put in their respective capitals. And while some say North Korea's unwillingness to talk shows a lack of sincerity, others say they still expect lines of dialogue to reopen in the coming weeks, at least before the end of the year. Our Hwang Sung-hee reports.
The much-anticipated high-level talks did not happen Thursday, and instead, the two Koreas remained wide apart. Both sides had agreed to hold the meeting sometime between late October and early November, upon a surprise visit to the south by a high-level North Korean delegation earlier this month. Despite the latest overtures, experts say the trip was Pyongyang's extension of an olive branch.
From North Korea's stance, the three officials were dispatched with the aim of improving inter-Korean ties and at the same time ensuring that the relationship is led by North Korea.
North Korea says it will not show up to the talks unless South Korea bans activists from launching anti-Pyongyang leaflets across the border. South Korea says it has no legal grounds to ban the activities of civic groups. While prospects for the second round of high-level talks remain cloudy, experts say that North Korea will not walk away completely. This as Pyongyang needs Seoul to end its international isolation and prop up its crippled economy. Trips around the globe by senior North Korean officials, including Foreign Minister Lee Soo-young's rare attendance at the United Nations General Assembly, had all proven unsuccessful.
Solve it. So they have only South Korea. That's a gateway for North Korea to get out of that. And also, maybe they have opened up the certain special economic zones. Maybe they want the South Korea's investment. So that's maybe.
While the tug of war between the two Koreas is not expected to end anytime soon, most experts say both parties will want to talk things out within this year. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
Now, top defense and military brass from across the Asia-Pacific region are in the South Korean capital to share their thoughts and expertise on a range of issues at the annual Seoul Defense Dialogue. One topic that keeps coming up is ways to re-engage with South Korea's unpredictable northern neighbour. Our Kim Yeon-bin reports.
North Korea's balancing act between provocation and detent has never been as apparent as in recent weeks, with rounds of dialogue followed by cross-border shootouts. To better deal with the North Korea threat, senior defense officials and security experts from 24 countries, including the US, Japan, China, and Russia, are here in Seoul to take part in the third Seoul Defense Dialogue, hosted by the Ministry of National Defense. The three-day event, which runs through Friday, serves as a venue to enhance military trust and cooperation among nations in the Asia-Pacific, so they can better deal with security issues in the region.
Through earnest discussions between nations, we will try to resolve not only the Asia-Pacific region's conflicts, but also the world's through enhanced cooperation. I'm looking forward to the many key ideas that will be addressed here.
Reunification, military confidence building, and defense cooperation topped Thursday's agenda. Representatives from the United Nations, the European Union, and NATO were also on hand to provide insights.
That no region is alike, no countries are alike, and so what worked in one region may not work in another region. But it doesn't hurt to look at other regions to say what actually did work. Where do we have hotlines? Where do we have advanced notification of maneuvers, for example? That is something that is not endemic to one region, but that's really endemic to something that could be a military cooperation. And that is something that we can learn from each other and that we can copy from each other.
The Seoul Defense Dialogue not only builds trust among countries in the Asia-Pacific region, it also creates consensus on the need for the unification of the Korean Peninsula. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
North Korea has told Japan it intends to deepen its probe into the fate of Japanese citizens kidnapped by Pyongyang decades ago. However, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said on Thursday that there was no indication of any imminent breakthrough on this matter. His remarks come after a high-level Japanese delegation recently returned to Tokyo after a very rare visit to the North Korean capital. Abe said North Korea will go about its investigation from a new angle without sticking to the results of past probes. Now, Japan has told Pyongyang that resolving the abductee issue is Tokyo's top priority. Pyongyang admitted back in 2002 to kidnapping 13 Japanese citizens in the 1970s and 80s, but many in Japan have suspicions that the actual number could reach into the hundreds.
We start before the sun rises to bring you the latest stories out of Korea. We also lead the way with important global coverage. Stay on the pulse of what is happening with Daybreak.
A military court in Korea has sentenced an army sergeant to 45 years behind bars for his role in the bullying death of a low-ranked soldier back in April. In its sentencing on Thursday, the court said that while it couldn't say the sergeant had intentionally killed the 23-year-old private first class, he had to receive heavy punishment as his actions came close to murder. 5 other soldiers who took part in the severe bullying were also sentenced, with 3 of them receiving between 25 to 30 years in prison. The private, only identified by his family name Yoon, died on April 7th after suffering physical and mental abuse at his unit in Korea's Gyeonggi-do province. Now, the government is hosting its annual Foreign Investment Week in Seoul this week to promote investment opportunities right here in Korea. This event aims to make the country a more attractive destination for foreign investors. Our Song Ji-son reports.
If you're interested in investing in Korea, this week may be a good time to start, as Korea's Trade Ministry is holding its annual Foreign Investment Week. Over 300 foreign investors from 22 different countries are visiting this country for this occasion, including investment chiefs of global companies like Boeing and General Electric.
Nearly $60 million worth of contracts were signed on the first day of this year's Foreign Investment Week alone. Visitors were also introduced to prospective sectors that could benefit upon implementation of Korea's free trade deal with China, and shown ways to incorporate Korea's advanced IT technologies into their businesses.
My focus is in the startup companies, high-tech startup companies. And if you take a look at a lot of the ideas and that are emerging from the Korean market, it's just incredibly amazing to see what the younger generation is starting to develop. The market's huge, and they're looking at opportunities going globally.
Seoul's Trade Ministry also hosted its annual Foreign Company Day event at COEX on Thursday, acknowledging the contributions of foreign companies to Korea's economic growth. Foreign direct investment accounts for 14% of the nation's GDP, with some 15,000 foreign companies recording sales of $1 billion. Minister Yoon Sang-jik reiterated the government's push to cater to foreign investors.
The Korean government aims to attract the regional headquarters and research and development centers of multinational companies. We will lift excessive regulations across all ministries to facilitate foreign direct investment.
At this year's event, Corning received the most prestigious Gold Tower Order of Industrial Service Merit for investing an accumulated $2.5 billion and creating jobs for over 3,000 employees, while at the same time helping Korea earn its reputation as the world's leading display maker. 송지선, Arirang News.
Now, riding on the popularity of Korean dramas and the Korean wave in general, really, an increasing number of Chinese couples are coming to the country to get a uniquely Korean touch to their pre-wedding photos. Our Connie Kim reports.
Making a reservation at this wedding planning company is not a Korean couple, but Chinese to-be-weds who came to Korea for a photo shoot package. This Chinese couple will select their wedding dress and tux, get their hair and makeup done, and get their wedding photos taken. And they'll do it all in just 3 days.
After seeing actress Chun Ji-hyun in the drama My Love from the Star, I got interested in Korean-style makeup. As I was preparing for my wedding, I thought it would be meaningful for us as a couple to come to Korea and get our wedding photos taken here.
Bride-to-be Yao says she is thrilled to experience some of the high-quality services Korea's wedding industry has to offer, even if it comes with a price tag that is 3 to 4 times higher than in China. Despite the high cost of photo shooting packages for Chinese couples here, the nation's wedding industry is seeking to attract more would-be newlyweds from China, seeking a Korean touch to their once-in-a-lifetime experience. The craze for a high-quality taste of Korea's wedding industry has led to an explosive growth in recent years. One of Korea's largest wedding planning companies says it has shot wedding photos for nearly 790 Chinese couples this year alone, a major jump from the 5 it had in 2007. And as more companies cater to what Chinese couples are looking for, Korea's wedding industry is set to leap forward.
With the popularity of Korean dramas, Chinese couples want their wedding photos to be exactly like Korean celebrities' photo shoots. They look for backgrounds with tall skyscrapers or sets that show they are in Korea.
Many wedding studios now have translators on hand to help lure even more Chinese couples looking for specialized Korean wedding services. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Well, it's time now for a look through the global headlines we're following on this Friday morning, the last day of the work week here in Korea. For that, we turn to our Eunice Kim, standing by at the news center. Good morning, Eunice.
And good morning to you, Mark. The World Bank has pledged to invest another $100 million to get urgently needed healthcare workers to West African countries with the highest infection rates. That brings the bank's total pledges to fight Ebola to date to $500 million. Earlier this week, you'll remember, World Bank President Jim Young Kim has said that at least 5,000 trained health workers were urgently needed to help staff and run the treatment centers being built in Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. Even as the WHO expressed cautious optimism of progress in Liberia, the outbreak is reaching areas in and around Sierra Leone's capital. The country's top anti-Ebola official, Alfred Paulo Conte, urged citizens to refrain from touching the sick or the dead. He also welcomed incoming assistance in the form of beds, helicopters, and military personnel, but warned the help was months too late and that the crisis situation was going to get worse before it gets better. Fresh clashes in Jerusalem is giving way to fears of another Palestinian uprising. A 32-year-old Palestinian man was shot dead by Israeli police on Thursday at a holy site known as the Al-Aqsa compound by Muslims and as Temple Mount by the Jews. It was closed to visitors as precaution for the first time in 14 years. The deceased was suspected of attempting to kill a far-right Jewish activist hours before his own demise. Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas, through his spokesman, called the closure a declaration of war. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu urged calm, saying Abbas was stoking unrest. Israeli police reopened the compound later on Thursday. Finally, in a rare break in silence on his personal matters, Apple CEO Tim Cook has come out to say he is proud to be gay. The first such public acknowledgement came in an essay published by Bloomberg Businessweek. He said he considered being gay among God's greatest gifts and that he thought it worthwhile to trade off his own privacy if it meant comforting or inspiring others who were struggling with who they are.
And TGI Friday, everyone, as we kick things off with the speed skating national team trials, which is currently taking place at the National Training Center in Taenung. And for Park Seung-hee, who won 2 gold medals in short track at the Sochi Winter Games, made a speedy transition to speed skating. Now, after deciding to switch over to speed skating, the former short track star finished second in the 1,000-meter event and qualified to be a part of the national team. This comes after just 2.5 months since switching over to speed skating, as Lee Sang-hwa finished just ahead of her in the event. And speaking of great starts, world number 1 Park In-bi is certainly off to a great start, as she's currently defending her top ranking against Stacey Lewis at the Fubon LPGA Taiwan Championship. Now, during the first round of the event, she goes bogeyless with 8 birdies, including 5 in the back 9 to finish off at 8 under 64 to share the lead with Shan Chanfeng of China. But Stacey Lewis not too far behind after the first round, as she's currently tied for 7th, just 3 strokes behind the 2 leaders. And now shifting gears to the KBO, where Game 3 of the best-of-5 series between the Nexen Heroes and the LG Twins took place last night at Jamsil Stadium, with the series tied 1-1. And of course, going to the game here, second inning of the game, Kang Jong-ho at bat to straightaway center field. No doubt about it, a solo shot puts the Nexen Heroes up 1-0. But that lead is increased to 5-0 thanks to a 4-run fifth, thanks to Park Dong-won's 2-run double to right. Once again, the Nexen Heroes bullpen holds the lead here as the Heroes win Game 3 6-2 and are 1 win away from heading to the Korean series. And now moving over to Japan this time, where the SoftBank Hawks faced off against the Hanshin Tigers in the 2014 Japan series, with SoftBank 1 win away from claiming the title. And with Korea's Lee Dae-ho going 2 for 4 in the game, the SoftBank Hawks barely hang on to win 1-0, claiming the Japan series title, with Lee Dae-ho winning his first championship in his professional career. Despite a great postseason for Oh Seung-hwan, the Hanshin Tigers finished second as the 2 Koreans failed to face off during the entire series. Now, staying in baseball, if you're a Lotte Giants fan in the KBO, you're probably not so happy with all the rumors of mutiny amongst the players. But if you're a fan of the San Francisco Giants, well, chances are you're still celebrating the latest World Series win. With the 2014 World Series between the Kansas City Royals and the San Francisco Giants going to Game 7, Madison Bumgarner, who's been unhittable this postseason, comes into relief after just 2 days rest to pitch 5 shutout innings and helps the Giants hold on to their 3-2 lead. With the Giants winning their 3rd title in 5 years, the lefty capped off an incredible 2014 postseason, winning both the NLCS MVP and the World Series MVP while pitching a record 52 2/3 innings. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning. Well, it's sprinkling right now here in Seoul, but soon the areas are going to receive heavy showers. Clouds from the west are bringing heavy showers to some regions, but it's going to last into Sunday. And also 10 to 40 millimeters of showers are expected for the central region, whereas down south will be receiving somewhere between 20 and 60 millimeters. Also be aware that the rain could be accompanied by thunder and lightning. And while the lows are are starting out relatively higher than past couple of days in the double digits, but the afternoon highs will be a bit cooler today, remaining below 20. So with that, let's take a closer look at the readings for today. Now, the low in Seoul kicked out at 12, and the daytime high in Seoul and Daegu will be at 19 and 17, and Busan will be topping out at 18. Now, for other regions, Jeju Island and Daejeon will see highs of 20 and 17, while Dokdo sees a highs of 18 this afternoon. But that's all for Korea, and here's the international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's going to do it from us on this Friday morning. Korea Today is coming up at 7 a.m. Korea time. Have a fabulous weekend. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.